not. Socrates professes to have been completely puzzled, since he knew nothing, and yet a god cannot lie. He therefore went about among men reputed wise to see whether he could convict the god of error. First he went to a politician who was thought wise by many and still wiser by himself. He soon found that the man was not wise, and explained this to him kindly but firmly. And the consequence was that he hated me. He then went to the poets, and asked them to explain passages in their writings, but they were unable to do so. Then I knew that not by wisdom do poets write poetry, but by a sort of genius and inspiration. Then he went to the artisans, but found them equally disappointing. In the process, he says, he made many dangerous enemies. Finally he concluded that God only is wise, and by his answer he intends to show that the wisdom of men is worth little or nothing. He is not speaking of Socrates, he is only using my name by way of illustration, as if he said, He, O men, is the wisest, who, like Socrates, knows that his wisdom is in truth worth nothing. This business of showing up pretenders to wisdom takes up all his time, and has left him in utter poverty, but he feels it a duty to vindicate the oracle. Young men of the richer classes, he says, having not much to do, enjoy listening to him exposing people, and proceed to do likewise, thus increasing the number of his enemies. For they do not like to confess that their pretence of knowledge has been detected. So much for the first class of accusers. Socrates now proceeds to examine his prosecutor Meletus, that good man and true lover of his country, as he calls himself. He asks, who are the people who improve the young? Meletus first mentions the judges, then under pressure is driven step by step to say that every Athenian except Socrates improves the young, whereupon Socrates congratulates the city on its good fortune. Next he points out that good men are better to live among than bad men, and therefore he cannot be so foolish as to corrupt his fellow citizens intentionally. But if unintentionally, then Meletus should instruct him, not prosecute him. The indictment had said that Socrates not only denied the gods of the state, but introduced other gods of his own. Meletus, however, says that Socrates is a complete atheist, and adds, he says that the sun is stone and the moon earth. Socrates replies that Meletus seems to think he is prosecuting Anaxagoras, whose views may be heard in the theatre for 1 drachma, presumably in the plays of Euripides. Socrates, of course, points out that this new accusation of complete atheism contradicts the indictment, and then passes on to more general considerations. The rest of the apology is essentially religious in tone. He has been a soldier, and has remained at his post, as he was ordered to do. Now, God orders me to fulfill the philosopher's mission of searching into myself and other men, and it would be as shameful to desert his post now as in time of battle. Fear of death is not wisdom, since no one knows whether death may not be the greater good. If he were offered his life on condition of ceasing to speculate, as he has done hitherto, he would reply, Men of Athens, I honor and love you, but I shall obey God rather than you. Footnote. Compare Acts chapter 5, verse 29. End footnote. And while I have life and strength, I shall never cease from the practice and teaching of philosophy, exhorting any one whom I meet. For know that this is the command of God, and I believe that no greater good has ever happened in the state than my service to the God. He goes on, I have something more to say, at which you may be inclined to cry out, but I believe that to hear me will be good for you, and therefore I beg that you will not cry out. I would have you know that if you kill such a one as I am, you will injure yourselves more than you will injure me. Nothing will injure me, not Meletus, nor yet Anytus. They cannot, for a bad man is not permitted to injure a better than himself. I do not deny that Anytus may perhaps kill him, or drive him into exile, or deprive him of civil rights. And he may imagine, and others may imagine, that he is inflicting a great injury upon him. But there I do not agree. For the evil of doing as he is doing, the evil of unjustly taking away the life of another, is greater far. It is for the sake of his judges, he says, not for his own sake that he is pleading. He is a gadfly, given to the state by God, and it will not be easy to find another like him. I dare say you may feel out of temper, like a person who is suddenly awakened from sleep, and you think that you might easily strike me dead, as Anytus advises, and then you would sleep on for the remainder of your lives, unless God, in his care of you, sent you another gadfly. Why has he only gone about in private and not given advice on public affairs? You have heard me speak at sundry times, and in divers places, of an oracle or sign which comes to me, and as the divinity which Meletus ridicules in the indictment. This sign, which is a kind of voice, first began to come to me when I was a child. It always forbids, but never commands me to do anything which I am going to do. This is what deters me from being a politician. He goes on to say that in politics no honest man can live long. He gives 2 instances in which he was unavoidably mixed up in public affairs. In the first, he resisted the democracy. In the second, the 30 tyrants. In each case, when the authorities were acting illegally. He points out that among those present are many former pupils of his, and fathers and brothers of pupils. Not one of these has been produced by the prosecution to testify that he corrupts the young. This is almost the only argument in the apology that a lawyer for the defense would sanction. He refuses to follow the custom of producing his weeping children in court to soften the hearts of the judges. Such scenes, he says, make the accused and the city alike ridiculous. It is his business to convince the judges, not to ask a favor of them. After the verdict, and the rejection of the alternative penalty of 30 minae, in connection with which Socrates names Plato as one among his sureties and present in court, he makes one final speech. And now, O men who have condemned me, I would fain prophesy to you, for I am about to die, and in the hour of death men are gifted with prophetic power. And I prophesy to you, who are my murderers, that immediately after my departure, punishment far heavier than you have inflicted on me will surely await you. If you think that by killing men you can prevent someone from censuring your evil lives, you are mistaken. That is not a way of escape which is either possible or honorable. The easiest and the noblest way is not to be disabling others, but to be improving yourselves. He then turns to those of his judges who have voted for acquittal, and tells them that, in all that he has done that day, his oracle has never opposed him, though on other occasions it has often stopped him in the middle of a speech. This, he says, is an intimation that what has happened to me is a good, and that those of us who think death is an evil are in error. For either death is a dreamless sleep, which is plainly good, or the soul migrates to another world. And what would not a man give if he might converse with Orpheus and Musaeus and Hesiod and Homer? Nay, if this be true, let me die and die again. In the next world he will converse with others who have suffered death unjustly, and above all he will continue his search after knowledge. In another world they do not put a man to death for asking questions, assuredly not. For besides being happier than we are, they will be immortal, if what is said is true. The hour of departure has arrived, and we go our ways, I to die and you to live. Which is better, God only knows. The Apology gives a clear picture of a man of a certain type, a man very sure of himself, high-minded, indifferent to worldly success, believing that he is guided by a divine voice, and persuaded that clear thinking is the most important requisite for right living. Except in this last point, he resembles a Christian martyr or a Puritan. In the final passage, where he considers what happens after death, it is impossible not to feel that he firmly believes in immortality, and that his professed uncertainty is only assumed. He is not troubled, like the Christians, by fears of eternal torment. He has no doubt that his life in the next world will be a happy one. In the Phaedo, the Platonic Socrates gives reasons for the belief in immortality. Whether these were the reasons that influenced the historical Socrates, it is impossible to say. There seems hardly any doubt that the historical Socrates claimed to be guided by an oracle, or daimon. Whether this was analogous to what a Christian would call the voice of conscience, or whether it appeared to him as an actual voice, it is impossible to know. Joan of Arc was inspired by voices, which are a common form of insanity.